On today's episode, we are joined by creator monetization coach and business mentor, Kristen Bousquet. Kristen started her journey in 2015 when she started a hair, makeup, and photography business with her best friend. But after honing her own skills as a creator and realizing she could monetize herself and help others to do the same, she went into business for herself in 2019. Since then, Kristen has worked with brands like Crest, Shutterfly, and HelloFresh, launched a podcast called the Social Scoop Podcast, which recently reached episode 100. She works with a community of creators in her creator monetization group called Social Suite, and she was recently named one of Business Insider's Creator Economy Experts to Know. On today's episode, we talk about her journey starting her own business, what it means for creators when you hear the words like exclusivity, usage rights, and whitelisting, a productivity hack that she uses to stay focused on her business, and her new course that she launched called Brand BFF. Sit back, take some notes, and enjoy episode 9 with Kristen Bousquet.
Started working with brands in 2019 for actual formal compensation. And then before I knew it, 2020 hits. We all know what happens in 2020. And I, at that point, was just getting a lot of questions from people that I think were really curious about making money as creators because of what we went through in 2020. People didn't want to go back to their jobs and really had a lot of time and energy to put into their social media. So they were excited to build businesses. And for some reason, they were coming to me for those questions. And so I built Social Mate in 2020. And that is the business that I run still to this day, where we work with entrepreneurial creators to basically teach them how to turn their online influence and their creativity into a profitable, self-sustaining business through brand partnerships, through, helping them build their offers, their products, their services. And then 2021, we started Social Scoop Podcast, which is just an extension of our business. And I still do all of the creator stuff at the same time. So there's a lot going on, but that's the short, long answer.
Where'd the switch happen? When someone said please take, do this collab or and handed you an X amount of dollars and the light bulb went off. Do you remember that light bulb moment?
Yes and no. So I know that when I had my blog, again, I wasn't really doing anything serious with it, but I think I just got on it early enough that there weren't actually a lot of bloggers that weren't huge, So a lot of the bloggers that were out there were, a handful of them. And so I was getting a lot of people sending me free clothes and stuff. And eventually, having people give me $50 here and there. And I was like, this is crazy. Wow. And so that happened for a while, but $50 wasn't really going to obviously pay my bills. But there was a point in 2019, I think it was early 2019, I had been approached by, a big body care brand that they're in Target and Walgreens and everywhere. And one of my friends was also on the campaign, and I had just totally thrown out a number because I was like, I have no idea what I should be asking for. I maybe had 10,000 followers at the time. I don't know. But she was a very similar creator to me with the kind of photos that we took and the stats and everything. And we ended up talking, and she was making more than double what I asked for. And I just remember being hold on, you're the same creator as me. Why are you getting paid $500 and I'm getting paid $200? And that, I think, was more of the light bulb moment for me when I was just cool, so I can charge $500 for a post now. That's crazy. I could actually pay my bills with this. And I just have been kind of going through that same process ever since of whenever I find brands that accept my rate way too quickly, I'm okay, we're going to bump it up a little bit.
If you could just run down the kind of things that a creator should be looking for when they're getting reached out to, because a lot of people are just doing this as a passion, and then 2020 comes along, the creator economy explodes, and now people are just oh my god, $50, this company's going to give me $50. They're so excited. They have enough revenue coming in from their full-time job, so they're just as jacked up as me and you were 6 years ago when someone gave us money, but they're just a little more novice, and there's so much more in that world these days. So talk to me a little bit about what they should be looking for and thinking of in that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that goes into contracts and rates, but I think there are kind of like a few main important things with each. So I guess talking about rates first, honestly, there really is no formula. Like, I see new brands coming out with the calculators all the time. Like, no, this one's really good. It actually works. I'm like, you can't tell me that there is a calculator out there that's going to work accurately, because every single creator is so different. Like, first thing that I look at, and I actually do this for a lot of creators that are, that I work with on TikTok and things like that. I do like these creator rate audits where I look at their page and kind of give them an idea of what they should be charging. And honestly, a lot of it just comes from my experience working with so many creators and like seeing what they're able to actually sign contracts for. But the main things that I look at is follower count is kind of the first place. It's the least relevant, but there are so many brands still that's what they base it off of. It's still a number. Yeah, like I want to say it doesn't hold that much weight, but it holds some weight. We can't ignore it. So follower count, I think also like how niche down, I know we don't love that term, but I think how niche down or how specific your audience is also something to take into consideration, because if I'm a brand and your audience is incredibly specific to who I am talking to with my product or my service, of course I'm going to pay more for that. So it absolutely does hold some weight. And then I also look at things like engagement and views, so a little bit of like statistics. And when I'm looking at engagement, I'm not necessarily just looking at the numbers, but I'm also looking at the quality of the comments. Like, is it just people like leaving an emoji, or are they asking questions, or like asking, oh, like what size are you wearing in that, or wait, can I get this at Target, or asking questions that show me as a brand that you're actually interested in what I'm talking about, So those are kind of the most important things I look at when I think about rates. But honestly, I think if you are listening to this and you're like, okay, that still doesn't tell me where I should start, I literally think you have to just go through the motions of pick a number that feels fair to you, something that feels comfortable for you. I think you should add a little bit to that number, because I think you should send rates that feel a little bit uncomfortable, and you're probably where you should be or getting closer to that. And then see what happens with those rates. If you're constantly getting rates that are quickly accepted, then it's probably too low. Raise it up $50, raise it up $100, and then do it again. See what happens. And when you get to a point where you're consistently like really having to like negotiate and haggle these brands to get you to pay what you want to be paid, you're probably in the range of where you need to be. So that's with rates. Now with contracts, there are kind of like, I guess, top 3 things that we can look at in terms of like clauses that you will probably see. First is exclusivity. That just means like you staying exclusive to the brand in their category. For example, if I work with Maybelline, they also don't want me to be working with CoverGirl. They're right next to each other in the aisles. They're competitors. So typically that honestly can range quite a bit. I usually will go anywhere from like 10 to 50% of my base rate, what I'm charging for those deliverables per 30-day period. And that 10 to 50% really just depends on how difficult is this brand for me to stay exclusive to. Like if I'm a makeup creator who strictly posts drugstore beauty and I have to stay exclusive to one brand, that means that all of my videos have to be about this one brand, because I can't share all of these different things, and that's very, very difficult, especially because you're probably getting opportunities from those other brands and you have to say no. So you're probably losing out on a lot of money and opportunity. So I would be charging closer to 50% of my deliverable rate per 30-day period for exclusivity. The other 2 things, I guess, kind of like fall under the same category of usage. So you'll see paid usage and you'll see organic usage. Best way I can describe this is that organic usage is anything that's going to be used by the brand in-house, so on their own owned and operated channels, so like their own social media or their own website, things that they don't have to pay to reach people, like those people who are their followers or those people who are their website visitors or their newsletter subscribers, they're already there. But then there's paid media or paid usage, and that's stuff that they actually have to pay to reach people. So it might be like an Instagram ad where they're going to have to pay to reach who the ad is going out to. Or it might be, a billboard where they have to pay to reach the people that are going to see it. So organic usage is all of those owned and operated channels. Organic usage, 99% of the time, people do not charge for. I don't think I've ever met a creator who has gotten a brand to actually pay for organic usage. It's kind of an unwritten rule that like it's going to be included. However, what I will say with organic usage is that it definitely should be capped. Like it shouldn't be perpetual ever. And I could go on a whole rant about that. But you don't want to be connected to anything forever on the internet, in short. So with organic usage, you can say yes and include it, but I would tell them you have organic usage rights for 6 months or for 12 months or for 3 months, whatever you choose. And they have the option to renew it, but at least you have an out, and you need to have that out as a creator. And then the last one is that paid usage. And so there's kind of two branches under paid usage. It could be whitelisted content, or it could just be regular paid usage. Just as like a side note as well, you'll see whitelisting also called creator licensing. Whitelisting is actually a term they're like slowly phasing out, but I don't know that everyone got the memo, so we still see it a lot. So whitelisting is a form of paid usage. Whitelisted ads are typically ads that look like they're coming from the creator. So if you've ever seen on your Instagram newsfeed a post, but at the top, it says the creator's name just like their post does, but then there's like a link where you can click it and click shop now and it goes right to their page. That's a whitelisted ad. And the same thing for stories. Actually, Instagram stories, whitelisted stories, you can actually swipe up on them, and that's like a sure way to tell that they are whitelisted. But whitelisted ads work better typically for brands because they look organic. It looks like I'm posting it, not like, Casetify is posting it saying this is the best phone case ever. It's Kristen saying this is the best phone case ever. So people, if they know me, are going to trust it more than Casetify, because of course Casetify is going to say they're the best. So whitelisted ads, typically I charge somewhere between 25 to 30% of the base rate per 30-day period. And then regular paid usage could be anything that's not whitelisted that they have to pay for. So it might be, again, like a Facebook ad. If they take your photo or your video and make an ad from Casetify saying, this is Kristen talking about it, but it's our ad, that is just regular paid usage. Or again, if they want to put it on like a flyer that they're putting out in the mail or something like that, that's all paid usage. And typically people charge a little bit less for that, somewhere between 15 to 20% of the base rate per 30-day period. Then there's like special cases. For example, like if a brand is going to take it and put it on a billboard, I'm probably going to ask for closer to like 30 or 40% because that's huge. And, they're going to make a lot more money off of it. So I should as well. So typically with those kind of agreements, I would just ask, what are the exclusivity terms? What kind of usage are you looking for? And where are you planning on using this content? Those can be all different things that you can kind of utilize to figure out what you should be charging.
And are most of those conversations, are they breaking that down for, I haven't been in like a deep contract conversation in a while, but like every single thing that you just laid out and where it's going to go, are they expecting people that don't really understand the creator economy to be breaking down these contracts? Or most of the conversations, the influencer marketing person is like breaking it down. All right, this is going to go on Facebook, paid for 3 months with an opportunity to negotiate after 3 if the ad is doing well. How is that conversation with the brand looking?
Honestly, I've experienced it just so many different ways with different brands. I noticed that a lot of agencies, they don't want to do the back and forth. Like they need to get things done really quick and easily. So most of the times with agencies, they'll give me an exact breakdown. They're like, here's what we're looking for from you. Here's the deliverables. Here's the timeline, the exclusivity, the usage. What's your rate? And so they're trying to get things done. Like, let's just get it all on the table and get a rate. But then a lot of brands that I work with might be like, oh, let's talk about the deliverables first. And then you get the contract and it happens to have like exclusivity terms and usage terms in it, but you never discuss that. And so that is actually a really great point to bring up to creators who are listening, is that you are in a 50-50 partnership with these brands. And just because it's in a contract does not mean that you need to sign that contract. Most of the times they're expecting you're going to come back with something that you want to change in that contract. A lot of the times when I do get an agreement, they'll say, okay, redline the contract and then you can send it back. Or if it's good, just sign it and send it back to us. But a lot of the times I'll read through the contract and I'll say, hey, it doesn't look like we had discussed anything to do with exclusivity or usage. However, you're asking for it here. So let's talk about that so we can get it, to a place that's comfortable for both of us. But honestly, every brand is different. Some brands just try and pull one over on you because they know a lot of creators don't understand this stuff, which is the unfortunate truth of the whole industry.
This is a great segue because the ability to ask you and other creators questions of this magnitude is a great way for an up-and-coming creator who has the ability to pay for a monthly subscription to get these questions asked by you, and with a very fast-growing community. So talk a little bit about the Social Mate. What do you call that? What do you call the group that we're in?
It's called Social Suite. It's a membership program, like you said. It's a monthly subscription where people can join and stay forever. They can join for 1 month, 3 months, whatever is convenient for them. People can come in and out. But basically, this membership kind of sparked from me wanting to have like a hub for community, but in which we could do on Instagram and stuff, but or a Facebook group, and we have a Facebook group, but what I was finding was just that like the quality of the group wasn't what I wanted it to be. Like I wanted to have a really strong, high quality group of creators who were really serious about it too, like I didn't want to have people who were going to be in there asking questions but then never answering questions. Like I wanted people who were going to be dedicated to being part of a community. So we started it on Circle. Yeah, love Circle. It's incredibly user friendly, and it's so organized. Like it's so pretty.
I call it Facebook because you mentioned Facebook group. I call it like a Facebook group on acid. Like it's just got so many more widgets. It's got so many more. You have like a button that's brand questions. You have a button that's like, introduce yourself. You have a button that's, giving some love. So some love if you got a new brand deal. So there's always people in there that are just like, I got my first brand deal, and it's just like it's just a really great community. You have so much going on. How do you keep? You got a podcast. You have Social Suite. You're creating for yourself. You are,
I still coach students on calls all the time.
You still coach. You're doing events in Charlotte. You're doing foster puppy stuff, I see on your Instagram, and you have an entrepreneurial husband as well.
Yes.
How are you breaking, like, how do you even, like, what does your calendar look like? Tell me your productivity hacks, because like I'm over here like slamming Celsius trying to get shit done, and I'm just wondering, you have so much more on your plate than I do, and I'm just so impressed by the business that you've built. So how are you staying on task with all the different things that you're doing?
Great question. Sometimes I wonder the same thing. No, I think after doing this as long as I have developed a great streamlined process for all of the things that I need to get done. However, I've learned a few very tough lessons in the last year that have shown me that I do need to have a good work-life balance. So I've been trying to incorporate that into my life a little bit more. So one thing that I've done in the last maybe 10 months is I've started to outsource a lot more. It sucks because I'm like, oh, that's money that could be in my pocket, but also that's time that I can be laying on the couch with my dogs, and I need that time in order to stay sane. So I've been definitely outsourcing a lot more. I actually just hired a new VA who's going to take on a lot of my to-do list, and I'm hoping that kind of frees me up to do a little bit more of the stuff that I specifically need to be doing. A lot of the tasks that I do throughout the week are very tedious, quick, easy things, but they just have to be done. And so those are tasks that I'm giving to my VA. So outsourcing is very important, but I think it's also really smart to find a good productivity method that works for you too. So for me personally, the only way that I know what I need to get done is by looking at my Asana board. So I use Asana, and when I first started using Asana, I actually hated it, but I started looking at it in the calendar view, and you can see a weekly view, and I will literally never, ever, ever change to anything else. I think if you look at it just by task, it's very overwhelming. But if you can open the calendar view, you can drag and drop tasks to different days. You can make tasks that repeat every Wednesday or once a month or on the 10th of every month. And I put everything in my life in that Asana board. And that's literally the only reason that I'm able to get what I can get done. But what's cool too is looking at it in the weekly view. I can always see that what my whole week looks like in terms of tasks. So if I look at my week on Monday morning when I hit my computer in the beginning of the day and I see that Monday is this long and Tuesday is this long, I'm like, okay, so let's see what we can drag over to Tuesday. So it's very visual. You can literally see, like, I have a really loaded day this day. Let me drag things over to other days. So Asana has been huge for me. And my last productivity kind of hack is the Eat the Frog method. I talk about it all the time. I absolutely love it. Have you heard of it?
I have not. I love, I am all things productivity. So hit me with it.
Okay, you're going to love this. There's actually a whole book you can read about it, which is awesome. So Eat the Frog is basically this method where you take the things that are looming over you. They're the most tedious. You really don't want to do them. You're like, oh gosh, all day you're thinking about I don't want to do this. You take those tasks and you get them done first before anything else. So a lot of the times for me, this is doing my income and expenses. I just hate it. It's just annoying to me. I don't want to do it. It's not fun. And so every Friday, I do it every Friday. Every Friday when I wake up, that's the first thing that I do, because then I'm not thinking about it all day and I don't keep pushing it to the next day. It's just what do you not want to do? Just get it done right now. We're doing it right now. The rest of the day will be much smoother. So Eat the Frog. Yeah.
You just started a new series. Talk a little bit about that. And then I have a question for you based off of your new series.
Okay. Creator currency is honestly something I'm very, very excited about. We've been getting a really, really great response. I wanted to be able to provide more transparency around money with content creators, because I think we look at especially big creators and we're like, they must be making so much money, and every month money must just be coming in, and that's not always that's not always the case. And so there's really just not a lot of transparency. So the series is 60 seconds of transparent conversation with a content creator. So we talk about how much money did they make last month, what's their highest and lowest paid collaboration, how much are they pitching, what's their pitching success rate, do they have a full-time job, and so we bust through a bunch of questions in 60 seconds.
I love it. And you took it off the page of Alex Lieberman with his 60-second pitch, right?
Yep.
Love Alex.
I was definitely inspired by him. I love their podcast.
What is your reoccurring monthly to one-off ratio? I'm just interested in knowing that number.
For partnerships?
For partnerships, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it's depending on the time of year, depending on the brand. It kind of varies with certain brands. Some brands I'm only able to kind of do one-offs with, even though I try to do more often.
Yep.
I try and sign contracts that are for multiple pulses of content, and that I would consider long-term, of course. But then there's also kind of that option of let's work together in the spring, and then they'll reach back out to me in the summer, and maybe I reach back out to them in the winter. And so I also kind of consider those long-term as well. So most of my partnerships are long-term, because honestly, I've just wanted to work with a small group of brands that I really believe in. I just started working with Riverside actually last week. And
Nice.
So I want to work with the brands that I genuinely use all the time and that I really believe in and that I believe are actually solving a problem for my audience. And there's actually only so many brands that I can work with and that can apply. So I really do want to work with those brands as often as possible. I would probably, if I had to put a number to it, I would probably say maybe 75% of my partnerships are recurring or long-term.
So as we're wrapping up here, anything else going on in your world that followers should know about so that we can continue to push all of these amazing creators in your direction?
Yeah, last month we actually launched our signature course. So it is called Brand BFF. It is basically a self-guided course that really teaches creators how to build relationships with the brands that they want to work with. Obviously, the goal is to work with more brands long term so that you don't have to be hustling every single month. Like, where am I going to pay my bills? What brands am I working with? No one's responding to my emails. And so if you can find brands that you build relationships with, that you can work with consistently, it kind of takes all of that away. So the whole premise of the course is to build relationships, and to do that we use something that I created last year called the anti-pitch method. Honestly was just sick of pitching. I was like, I'm pitching so much and not getting responses. It doesn't matter how beautiful my pitch email is. Most of the success rates of creators with pitching is very low. And I found that across the board with all of the creators that I was working with. And so I basically created this framework that makes you build actual connections in like a network of brands, so that when there's a partnership that comes up, the brand already knows that you exist, and they can kind of do the reaching out to you and say, oh, wow, we just met Aaron last month. He would actually be perfect for this campaign for whatever it is. And so it makes the work a lot less for you, which is great in terms of reaching out to brands, but it also, makes you top of mind for when brands do have campaigns. So you're still able to monetize just in a way that's a lot more sustainable. So that's Brand BFF. It's out now. It's our signature course, so it won't be going anywhere. But we've been having creators have a lot of really great success with it.
Awesome. And I'm gonna flip first of all, where can they find that?
Yeah, it's on our website, yoursocialmate.com. If you go to services, you'll be able to see actually the membership there as well as the course.
And for the podcast listeners, how do you spell your lovely brand?
Yes. So the brand is called SocialMate, SOULCIAL, mate. SocialMate. A play on words.
Play on words, but it's working so well for you. I know we've talked a lot about your brands today, but tell everybody where they can follow you on a day-to-day basis, keep up with kind of what you're going at.
Yeah, Instagram and TikTok are really the places that I'm spending the most time. And my handle for both of them is KBOUSQ, KBOUSQ.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today, opening up about what's going on in your world and the creator economy. So many good nuggets to come out of this episode. And don't forget, those listening, to hop over to her Social Scoop podcast as well. By the time that this comes out, she probably will have been in triple digits. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And thanks so much for being on here. Really appreciate you.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Always great to catch up.